All right, hey, 9:30, getting started here on a Saturday morning brunch stream. We're going to continue converting the Warlock to the 5-color mana spell point variant rule system that we've published on DMsGuild. And we're going to spend some time looking at the BX Beckme style of exchanging gold for experience instead of killing things for experience. So we're once we get through the Warlock Invocations, we're going to invest time on that. So give me a check. Yeah, it sounds like my signal's coming through okay. I'm going to grab I'm going to do some social media posting real quick. Grab my link here, and then so I'm going to go post an announcement that I'm live. And so let me. It'll take like maybe a minute for me to get through this stuff. So if you're catching me in the future after the stream on replay, you can skip ahead a minute, and we'll start getting into today's work. But if you're here now with me in space time, or if you're not familiar with the channel and you're catching it after stream, my name is Phil Kearney. Hey. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I've been a DM playing Dungeons, basically D&D since 1987. I've been a Magic the Gathering enthusiast since 1995, a freelance illustrator in the role-playing game industry since 99, and I've been creating content on the DMsGuild for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since 2017. Primarily starting off with the color mana spell point variant rule system that you can see here. Hold on, let me fix my screens. There, and that should fix my. There we go, perfect. If you're on the X Twitter platform, I'm there at Phil Kearney. You can catch any kind of like illustrations, notifications that I'm live. Works in progress, coupons, etc. So if you're on the X Twitter platform, you can catch me at Phil Kearney. Here on YouTube, hey, thanks for new subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notification when we go live in the future. Down here, you can see the color mana spell point variant rule. Where to go? Yeah, the 5-color mana spell point variant rule bundle of books on the DMsGuild here. We're 12 sales away from the core mechanics becoming a gold bestseller, which I'm ecstatic about. But basically, this takes the 8 schools of magic and replaces it with the 5-color magic system from Magic the Gathering. Both MTG and D&D are IPs that are owned by Wizards of the Coast, but they've been very tentative over the past 25 years about crossing the streams with those two game systems. In 2017, we saw the introduction of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Then we saw Odysseys of Theros. And then we saw Strixhaven, Curriculum Chaos. 3 different Magic the Gathering settings that were presented in Dungeons & Dragons. But the way that 5e works and the general guiding philosophy is take an idea and then boil it down so that it works inside of the core rule books of the Player's Handbook, DMG, and Monster Manual. So, take the 10 guilds of Ravnica, they made them into backgrounds, and otherwise your characters are exactly the same. It's like your Rakdos wizard and your Azorius wizard or Boros wizard are essentially the same, except that they just belong to different guilds and they're enemies. But if you implement, and then they'd be using the 8 schools of magic and the spell slots like you'd expect for 5th edition, because in this case, we're talking about just wizards. So they just do wizard, and they have the identity of Rakdos, Boros, whatever. That has virtually no mechanical impact on the game, so it's easy for them to be able to design that narrative without actually any kind of mechanical crunch. But all of us, including me, are really excited about Wizards figuring out how to make a color mana system for role-playing games to be able to actually play characters in the MTG universe, making use of the laws of magical physics that they developed with the 5-color mana system. That is both a philosophical and identity sort of alignment system, as well as a hard magic mechanical system for how you spend mana to create magical effects. And I need to blow my nose. I feel like I've got a glob of something sitting in my head. So, I've spent a lot of time talking about how the Color Mana system works at the beginning of most of the episodes in the series. So, just to summarize for you, I have a playtest that I'm hoping to gather up people to play on either a Monday or a Saturday. If you're interested, be welcome to drop into my Discord channel and cast a vote and be a participant if you do. And the Color Mana system. Here's all the books I've created. And when I make a book, they're free previews. So like the revised Color Mana spell point variant rule system. This document came out after we published the original rules, so that we could have a broader set of like what colors a spell represents. So just to recap, a 3rd level spell like a Fireball, that's a red spell. It requires 3 mana to cast the spell. One has to be red, and the other 2 can be any color you want. If you're using a soft magic system, you're just using spell points like normal, and you just say, I spent 3 spell points, and I'm just going to make a Fireball. It's a red spell, and then you just depict it as being red. If you're using a hard magic system, you actually have to have red mana in your mana pool, and whenever you finish a short or a long rest, regardless of how much mana you currently have, you can decide how much of each color your mana pool is devoted to, and then you assign, and then you try to sculpt your spells to match your color pool and make your color pool match the spells that you have, so that you can make your mana pool more efficient. But like you could have white, blue, and green spells, and now you have to split your mana pool between how many white spells do I want to cast, how many blue spells do I want to cast, and how many green spells do I want to cast, which is a very old school style of D&D. Prior, like in 3rd edition and earlier editions, when you had a spell slot, you had to say specifically what spell is going to be prepared for that spell slot. It wasn't until the sorcerer in 3rd edition had a set of spell slots and then a pool of spells, a very limited spell selection, and you would take any spell and cast with any spell slot that you have, including upping things with meta magic if you know any. And as the game evolved in 5th edition, they just adopted that full, like the reason why the sorcerer was so unique in 3rd edition was because you didn't have to assign spells to spell slots. You just knew spells, and you had a batch of slots or spell points, and you just spin it as you want. That became the universal system inside of 5e. So now all you need is a stack of spells and a stack of resources to spend them, and you spend them as you please. This method is actually a step back to 3rd edition, where you don't have to say specifically how much mana is going to go to Fireballs versus Identify versus Jump versus Cure Wounds or whatever, but you do need to pay. If you use a hard magic system, you then say, yeah, I expect I'm going to need to cast like maybe 6 cure spells today, so I want to make sure I have 6 green mana on my character to be able to do that, because once I run out of green, I can't cast green spells anymore. So we spent a lot more time on this in the past, so I'll just go ahead and summarize. I'll just go ahead and leave that there, and you can check all the previous streams if you want to have a much more in-depth mechanical, just a much deeper dive into the mechanics of the mana system. So we're going to go to D&D Beyond. And we're working on invocations today. So the last 2 sessions, we talked about the mana mechanics of the Warlock in episode 11. And then we converted the Archfey. And then episode 12 yesterday, we finished converting the Celestial Patron, Fiend Patron, and Great Old One Patron. So those are all decked out. Now we can go into looking at all of the Eldritch Invocations. And, I needed to point out, if you want to tag along in today's session, you can click here in the Color Magic plus Martial Powers playtest document. It's on my Patreon channel. If you're a subscriber, God bless you. You do not need to be a subscriber to access that. You just click this Martial Power button, and it takes you to a read-only Google Doc, which is what I will be editing. I have editing rights as the creator of it, but everyone else is welcome to tag along. It is currently a 150-some-odd page document. 160 pages at this point. It has the full power mana system for barbarians, fighters, rogues, monks, as well as alternate magic options for the paladin and ranger. Artificer, Warlock, and then we have power magic items, all the subclasses for the 2024 classes, using the mana system instead of spell slots. So all characters in the game have the same mana resource system to be able to power maneuvers, reactions, strike effects, sustained powers, or if you're a traditional spellcaster, the different type of spells in the game. So all 13 classes uses the same mana resource system to not only express their characters, like a Rakdos Barbarian now has a stack of red and black mana that they can expend while they're raging to do like strike effects or sustained powers that don't require concentration. This isn't spell casting, so we can cheat our way around the rage requirements of the barbarian, kind of like how a barbarian fighter battle master would be able to use maneuvers while raging. This mana that martial characters get is spent on maneuvers and strikes and stuff like that. But it can be blended into the same mana pool to be spent on spellcasting. So a Gish character that has, like say, a ranger and a paladin are great examples where they have access to not only their spells from their class list, but they also have access to all the martial powers, so they can blend between what type of casting versus power they want to wield when you're deciding like how do you want to conduct play of your character, what's your action loop that you prefer. Tool past all that, and again we have all the 2024 subclasses built out here, so that the system's ready to go. And we'd spent a lot of time looking at all the 2014 classes and rebuilding them to use 2024 sensibilities, so that the entire system remains consistent, that we'll be able to publish those works as well. So all these books that we have on the DM's Guild for the Color Mana system uses the 2014 mechanics, and this whole project that we're working on right now on stream is to update them for 2024, because I absolutely love the Color Mana system, and I love most of what 2024 does for characters. So I want to take that and make use of the new tech that Wizards introduced into these characters to be able to retain and expand upon, and just simply update the books that we created. The mana books were some of the first that I created. I've advanced as a creator, as a designer, and as well as a layout artist and just an illustrator. So over the past 7 years. So I think I have an opportunity here to really glam up these books, make them super cool, and keep them relevant for the next 10 plus years. So let's see. We did all the subclasses here. And let's dive out of that. Let's go in here. Here's our variant features. I'm really proud. If you saw in last stream, the Wild Magic Sorcerer doesn't get any bonus spells, but the rest of them do. So the way that we resolve that is you get bonus meta magic. And for those that have been tagging along, the Spell Point Sorcerer that we'll be publishing on the DM's Guild blends the spell pool, so you have more prepared powers, or rather spells, up to 25, which includes both spells and meta magic options. Your mana pool is blended together so that you can use the same spell points on a long rest for both casting spells and modifying them with meta magic. And in the system here, we have a total of 24 meta magic options that cost anywhere from 1 to 4 mana. And you can see on the table here the amount of mana that you can spend on a sorcery spell, or rather the amount of mana you can spend to modify a spell with meta magic is limited by your level. So second level you can do first level spells. It has half casting progression. Second level 1, 5th level 2, 9th level 3, 13th level 4, 17th level 5, but of course meta magic caps at 4 mana. So like say at 17th level, you can have any number of meta magic active at the same time on a spell that you cast, as long as it totals 5 or less. So like if I want to spend, like if I'm going to cast like a 7th level spell and then modify it with 4 points of meta magic, I'm going to spend 11 points to cast that spell. If it's say I don't know. Maybe it's like an upcast fireball for some stupid reason, right? And we spend our red mana to be able to trigger the fireball, the other 6 mana, and then on top of that, with the meta magic, 4 other mana, and that meta magic can be any color that you want. It's just expensive, but you're blending your 20 points over 20 levels with the 80 mana that you would get as a full caster to arrive at 100 mana over the course of 20 levels for your sorcerer. So that was a really fun mechanic, but since you can, in your prepared spells, you can have any number of spells or meta magic that you can prepare, so you can have like just a cantrip character with a ton of meta magic that modifies those cantrips, or all spells and no meta magic if you want, which is a shame because, you know, sorcerers have meta magic features. Or like if I have 10 spells, I could have like 5 meta magic and 5 actual spells, plus I have 5 cantrips to distribute meta magic across if I chose to. So while all the other subclasses of the sorcerer get a spell list, the wild magic sorcerer in 2024 does not. So the way that we modified it was, instead of getting bonus spells, the wild magic sorcerer gets 2 extra meta magic spells on top of the 25 that get over 20 levels, and then every time they gain a new spell level from level 3 to 19, they get, or rather from level 5 to 19, they'll get an extra 8. So at the end of 19 levels, they'll get a bonus of 10 spells, which are actually just 10 of the 24 meta magics that you can just choose. And then, of course, the way that we built this is that whenever you're using meta magic to modify a spell, that triggers Wild Surge tables for you. So you can just spend a point of like subtle magic on a Thaumaturge cantrip, only 1 point of mana to then trigger a Wild Surge at will. So very fun, very, very fun. That's just some of the cool mechanics that we were doing with sorcery. So getting back to today's production, getting started, we're looking at variant invocations. I don't think we're going to need to do much to modify these in general, but we do need to look at them because I think some of them like have spell slot language. So we need to take that into account. So, and then once we finish this, we'll be going into the BECME basic expert BX style of exchanging gold for experience points for us to build out 5th edition mega dungeons using BX philosophies, and that'll be a lot of fun. That's how we'll finish today's session. I will be back on Monday morning to do Eberron art, Monday night to do more color mana design, Tuesday morning Eberron, Tuesday lunch, game design, Wednesday morning Eberron, Thursday morning Eberron, Thursday night more game design, Friday morning Eberron art, Friday lunchtime game design, and then Saturday morning, like this next week, we'll be back on our workbench. So, and hopefully along those lines, we can gather enough people that are willing to play test on either Mondays or Saturdays for us to start throwing mana around. And again, if you want to join the play test, just jump into my Discord for free and vote which day you'd like to play, and whichever team gets to 5 first, that'll be the day that we play. So, okay, invocations. So let's look at these. Agonizing Blast, prereq 2+, Warlock cantrip that deals damage. Choose one of your known Warlock cantrips that deals damage. You can add your Charisma modifier to the spell's damage roll. Repeatable, you can gain this multiple times. Okay. Let's go look at the color mana spell list. I need to pop that open so we can look at these things. So to maintain concentration on a spell, you have to tap mana. So that means that when we're looking at these spell lists, these free invocations that Warlock gets, we need to suss out. Like if you get a free casting of a spell, you're not investing any mana, which means that you don't have any mana to tap to maintain concentration for, and then to expend when you're finished concentrating. So if any of these spells that are listed in the invocations grant a spell for free that would require concentration, we need to compensate for that. So we will. So I'm about to pop on my 20-minute timer, so I'm going to refresh my timer there. So let's go look at Mage Armor. That should be a persistent effect. Yeah, persistent. So with the simplified here, I'll take just a quick tangent here for you guys to explain how the simplified duration system works. Let's go down to the Color Mana spell list, and let's go down to the core mechanics, and let's open up the free preview. Go down to simplified durations. So there's 3 types of durations in using this mana system. There's instantaneous, persistent, and concentration effects. Instantaneous, these spells have no sustained magic effects after casting the spell is completed. Cure wounds, fireball, teleport, or examples of instantaneous spells. You spend the mana, you do the thing, it's over. Persistent spells. These spells have sustained magical effects that are active until finishing a long rest. Any spell in the player's handbook with magic effects lasting longer than 24 hours retain that longer duration. We'll go into more, like here it says, persistent spells can be disrupted by targeting the spell effect with the spell magic or other similar means. A persistent spell can be detected by true seeing, detect magic and similar spells as a faint magic aura that of the color's devotion around the target or area affected by the spell. If a persistent spell, such as Gesh or Clone, targets a creature or object that is killed or destroyed, the spell effect ends immediately. Other persistent spells like Cordon of Arrows that instead target areas aren't affected as such. These spells have sustained magic effects that are active until finishing a long rest. So, like for example, Mage Armor in the player's handbook, it lasts 8 hours, right? Well, we simplify that. You spend a point of mana, and that Mage Armor effect stays active until you finish your long rest. And then it has here for overlapping days. When you wake up and you finish your long rest, if you have any persistent effects, it would end at that time. But if you choose instead, you can just leave the mana spent, and the magical effect stays active. So you could have Mage Armor active for days, for like a month if you want. If every time you wake up from a long rest, you just say, yeah, I'm just going to leave that point of mana burned so that my Mage Armor stays effective. This is really great. Like if you have like a water breathing spell that's active, you can just move around at the bottom of the ocean, take a long rest. When you wake up, it's like, yeah, I would like to continue breathing water when I wake up. So you just leave the mana spent, and it sustains that effect. And then there's concentration, which is, when your concentration is disrupted, the effect ends. But the way we have it is these spells have sustained magical effects that continue while the caster maintains concentration unless dismissed or disrupted. So it has no duration. Like a lot of spells is like you maintain, like this spell lasts for 1 minute, maintains concentration, and when the spell is disrupted, if it hasn't been a minute, the spell ends, like haste or something like that. Well, the way that this works is that you can keep it sustained until you begin a long rest if you want, and you plan to become incapacitated. That's when that effect would end, because you can't maintain concentration while you're incapacitated. So the idea then would be that you have to, the DC of your concentration check increases, and anytime you make a saving throw, you have to compare the result of your saving throw versus the DC of your concentration. So if you're maintaining concentration on a 7th level spell, it's 10 plus level equals 17. So your DC would be 17. So like if you take 34, like if you take 36 damage, the DC would be 18. There you go. So, or if like if I have to dodge a fireball, and the DC for the fireball is 12, and I roll a 14, I save against the fireball, but that saving throw was less than 17, so I lose concentration on that 7th level spell. This is a really effective system, and it allows characters to stack concentration effects, because every time they add another concentration effect onto their character, it becomes more and more difficult. And a DM just simply has to roll a d6 to see what kind of a stat are we going to target with saving throws in this trap, this hazard, or these creatures in this encounter. And occasionally, your wizard's going to have to make a bunch of saving throws against their dump stat. Sometimes they're going to make saving throws against their best stat. So it's going to be kind of a random, like an RNG sort of effect, but your mana is always at risk. And if you're maintaining a spell for a sustained period of time, like hours, then you throw in attrition checks, have hazards and conditions occur that requires the character just to make a periodic, kind of like a wandering monster check. You're just shit testing their concentration occasionally to see if it's going to get spoiled, so they have to spend more resources to sustain these effects from hour to hour, encounter to encounter. It works incredibly well. I ran this through level 20 campaigns. I've been using it for 7 years. It has proven to be very effective and creates new strategic and tactical considerations for high-level power characters that honestly knocked them down a few pegs. So it's a really fun way to make your character have to protect their mana resources on top of their hit points to be able to overcome challenges. And with the Beckme system of GP equals XP, fighting monsters does nothing for you to gain a level. You have to defeat the monsters or outsmart them somehow to get the treasure that you want. And you extract the treasure, and then you give the treasure away to get experience points, or you keep the treasure to increase your power through resources, but you're not gaining levels. So you have to choose one or the other, which we'll be discussing later. So now that you understand the persistence system versus concentration, you understand why I am looking carefully at like what kind of sustained effects that we have. And since you have so much mana, we can take an effect that the core 5e24 book would not want to be concentration, because it's penalizing for you to do that, and you only have so many slots. So sometimes spells that should be concentration effects, they make persistence, just to prevent you from having to spend more resources than you should. But with spell points, you have abundant resources. So you want to find reasons to make the character burn their pool. So that's why the attrition system and the ramped concentration system works with the spell point system specifically, because they balance themselves out. Really fun. Highly recommend you try out the playtesting with me. If you're interested in seeing how this system works, you are most invited. So Mage Armor is a persistent effect, so that's cool. We're going to start listing these out. We'll go with Armor of Shadows. And we're going to change it so to be you always benefit from the Mage Armor spell. It's just a permanent effect on you now. It's not you have to maintain it, you have to concentrate on it or anything. It's a permanent effect. And that's an easy way for us to resolve that. Ascendant Step. You can cast Levitate on yourself without expending a spell slot. And Levitate is a concentration effect. So let's figure out how that works. Ascendant Step. See, we can cast without a spell slot, so it doesn't require any mana. Levitation is a concentration spell, so it needs to have a point of mana. It needs something to tap, because Levitate is a second level spell, which means sustaining Levitate requires concentration at DC 12, so we can't ignore that. You can cast Levitate on yourself without expending a spell slot, which means you have basically infinite use of Levitate. You can cast Levitate on yourself. See, one solution is when you gain this, but you can cast it over and over again. The reason they don't have you expend a spell slot is because the Warlock at 5th level only has 2 spell slots. And at 5th level, it's a 3rd level spell slot, but Levitate, I believe, caps at 2nd level. Let's double check. Yeah, you can't upcast it. So a lot of the spells that can't be upcast, they convert into these invocations that you can just get free uses of it, and it basically becomes infinite. So you can levitate, you can cast Levitate on yourself without expending a spell slot. Let's go with yeah, let's do this. You without expanding the spell slot. Let's do it like this. We're gonna do this for now. We're gonna go with you can cast Levitate as a cantrip. Still requires concentration. Doesn't require any mana. Yeah, I like that. Make it a cantrip. The cantrips don't require mana, so they have a 0 cost. So 10 plus 0 equals still have a concentration of 10, which makes it very basic. You can maintain concentration on multiple cantrips. Again, if you're a 13th level full caster, like a cleric, druid, bard, whatever, say bard. That's a fun example. A 7th level bard can sustain 7 mana at the same time, which could be like, say, a cantrip, which is a zero mana cost for DC 10, and a 7th level sustained effect, a concentration effect, would be 7 mana plus the 0 from the cantrip equals 17. So I could sustain, like, say, Thaumaturge and what's a 7th level, like, Etherealness at the same time if I wanted to. Or that 17th level bard could sustain 7 mana worth of like, say, Thaumaturge, right? Or Prestidigation. These are both cantrips. If you cast multiple the first one is free, 0 mana, DC 10 just to sustain a cantrip. If you sustain multiple cantrips, each additional one ticks up a virtual point of mana. So if you buy the spell point variant rules that I have in DMsGuild, it has C for a concentration cantrip effect. Otherwise, like, you'd have, like, say, 5 points, like, say you spend 7 points of black mana to cast that spell. Then you'd have 7 points of mana, and you tap all 7 of them to represent, I have 7 mana tap to sustain the 7th level spell, DC 17, 10 plus the amount of mana tapped. The tokens, so you get all the color tokens, white, blue, black, red, green, plus a colorless token that represents the cantrip. So I could sustain, a bard could have 1 Thaumaturge spell, concentration, DC is 10, and since I'm a 13th level bard with a max level of 7th level spell slots or 7th level spells, I could then add another 7 cantrips. Each one costs an extra point of virtual mana for me to tap as a concentration effect. So I could have 8 cantrips active at the same time that I'm concentrating on. That would drive my DC, my concentration DC, up to 17. But as long as I can maintain that 17, like, occasionally I would have to, like, make I might have to make a Constitution or maybe an Intelligence saving throw to keep all these cantrips organized while I'm putting on this performance on stage with all these magical effects that I'm sustaining while I'm performing. There you go. Super cool ideas. So by converting the Ascendant Step into a cantrip, it eliminates it basically eliminates that as cost. You can cast Levitate as a cantrip. There you go. You gain. Hold on. What's the wording? You can cast. Yeah. You can cast Levitate on yourself. It doesn't say it gives it to you. It just says you can cast it that way. Is Levitate actually on the Warlock spell list? Isn't that interesting? It isn't. It isn't. It actually is not on the Levitate is not on the Warlocks spell list. So you can cast Levitate on yourself without expanding spells. I love that. That's awesome. Devil's Sight, Dim Light Vision, 120 feet, fine. Devouring Braid, the extra attack of your Thirsting Blade invocation, and confers 2 extra attacks rather than 1. Let's go. Let's go see Thirsting Blade real quick, just to stay on, just to keep ourselves relevant with what's going on. Thirsting Blade, 5. So second attack. Pact of Blade. You gain extra attack feature for your packed weapon only. With that feature, you can attack twice with the weapon instead of once when you take the attack action on your turn. So that's Thirsting Blade. So what's the benefit of The extra attack of your Thirsting Blade invocation conveys 2 extra attacks, and that's level 12. I get it now. So at level 12, you have 3 attacks. I suspect that's the cap, right? Eldritch Mind, you have advantage on Constitution saving throws that you make to maintain concentration. Now, granted, again, to maintain concentration, you can make any saving throw. All 6 saving throws are on the board. Wisdom saving throws, Dex saving throws, Strength saving throws. All of those can disrupt concentration if the saving throw is not equal to or exceeding your current concentration DC, 10 plus the amount of mana you have tapped. But this only confers against Constitution saving throws, which is damage and things that are exhausting, like climbing for a long time, holding your breath, stuff like that. Eldritch Smite, once per turn. Once per turn. When you hit a creature with your Pact weapon, you can expend a Pact magic spell slot to deal an extra. It's 5th level. Eldritch Smite. Prereq. I should have that marked here. Ascendant Step. Prereq. Level 5 plus Warlock. Eldritch Smite. Level 5 plus Warlock. And Pact of the Blade. Invocation. When you hit with your Pact weapon, no, it's not capitalized. You can expend mana up to your max common magic. To deal 1d8 force damage per mana expended. Common magic is, so again, simple magic is cantrips and rituals. It doesn't require any mana. Common magic is level 1 to 5. High magic is 6 to 10. And then epic magic is at level 20. You can permanently expend mana to alter the world with wish. Basically, is how that works. So when you hit with your pact weapon, you can expend mana up to your max common magic level. Up to your maximum common magic level, which will be 5. And at level 5, you have 3rd level common magic. So you can spend 3 mana to deal 1d8 force damage per mana expended. And again, a 5th level character only has 2 spell slots. So they can spend both spell slots to deal 5d8 damage total. 4d8 damage. 3rd level spell slot. 2 3rd level spell slots. It's deal d8 force damage plus another d8 per level spell slot. So at 5th level, you have 2 spell slots. 5th is 3rd level. 4. You can do a total of 8. 3rd level spell slots. Extra kicker 4. That would be a total of 8d8 damage that you could do, as is listed here with the 2 spell slots. Beep. We nerf it down force because spell slots, spell points are more versatile over time. Deal force damage per mana expended. When you expend When you hit with your packed weapon, you can expend, you can deal an additional 1d8 force damage per mana expended up to your max common magic level. Max 5 at 9th. When you hit with your packed weapon, you can deal an additional d8 force damage per mana expended up to your max common magic level. Level 20, you'll have 4 slots. 5th level, 4, that's 24 total. When you hit with your packed weapon, you can deal an additional d8 force damage per mana expended up to your max common magic level. An additional d4 damage plus 1d8 force damage per mana expended up to your max channel limit, up to your max magic limit. That is 2d8. You could do 1 point each for 10d8 damage over the course of 5 smites, or you could ramp it up to 5th level. You could ramp up to 5. Which would be 5 plus 6. It would be a total of 5 mana. It'd be a total of 68. It'd be 78. So if you spend all of your mana, and well, you can't spend all your mana because you only do 3 at a time. At 5th level, you have 5, so you could do 3, 4. That's 7. That's 4 points, and then you'd have 2 points left over plus 1. That'd be 7. So using this method, you could divide it up either 10 dice of smite damage over 5 smites. Or you could do you could do 2 smites, 3rd level and 2nd level, dealing a total of 7d8. So you either do more or less, but roughly the same as what you've had. And we have the entire different mana system that the martial characters follow. But martial characters get free mana when they smite, or they can. So this is actually a really good balancing point. And if you are using the mana system, you would replace Eldritch Smite with that mana system. So yeah, that's good to go. Eldritch Smite, Eldritch Spear. Choose one of the known cantrips you have. Deal it equals to 30 times your Warlock level. That's awesome. Fiendish Vigor. You can cast False Life on yourself without expending a spell slot. When you cast a spell with this feature, you don't roll the die for temporary hit points. You automatically get the highest number on the die. False Life is a 1st level spell. You can cast False Life on yourself without expending a spell slot. You don't roll the die. You can cast False Life. What is the rules for casting it this way? Does it mention that up here in the rules? Let's go up and look at the invocations. Prepared spells, spell slots, pack magic, warlock features, invocations. Replacing gaining invocations. Gain certain warlock levels. You can't pick the same invocation. You have unearthed Eldritch Invocation pieces of forbidden knowledge that imbue you with a body magical ability. You gain 1 invocation of your choice, such as Pact of the Tome, as described in the Eldritch Invocations options section. If an invocation has a prerequisite, you must meet it to learn that invocation. For example, blah. You can select invocations once you reach Eldritch level 5, replacing and gaining. You can replace one invocation with another. You can't replace invocation if it's prerequisite. Another invocation you have. You gain certain warlock levels, you gain more invocations. You can't pick Pact Magic, cantrips, spell slots. For example, if you're a 5th level spell slot, you have 2 3rd level spell slot. You can cast a level 1 spell, Witch Bolt. You must spend one of those slots, and you cast it as a level 3 spell. You prepare a list of level 1 plus spells that are available. The number of spells are listed whenever this number increases. Chosen spells. If another Warlock feature gives you spells that you always have prepared, those spells don't count against the number of spells in the feature. Spellcasting Focus, Magical Cunning, Warlock. You gain an epic. Does anyone know? Another Warlock, epic boon. Does it say someplace in the rules that when you cast a spell that doesn't require a spell slot, it's automatically cast at the lowest level? I believe there is. But let's look at free rules. Let's look at spell casting. I mean, I have the player's handbook. I may as well look at that. Spell casting. Casting spells. I bet it says if you don't have to spend a spell slot, it's automatically the lowest level. Casting without slots, there are several ways. Rituals, special abilities. Some characters and monsters have special abilities that allow them to cast specific spells without a spell slot. The casting is usually limited in other ways, such as being able to cast it limited times per day. I'm still not seeing them referencing that. When you cast a spell, you expend a slot of that spell's level or higher, effectively filling a slot with a spell. Imagine a spell block. A level 1 spell block. Level 2, so level 3 magic missile. Level 1 spends 1 to 4 level spell slots and has 3 remaining. Finishing a long rest restores any expended spell slots. Every spell has a level from 0 to 9, which is indicated on the spell's description. A spell's level is an indicator of how powerful it is. Cantrips, simple spells, simple magic. See, simple spells that can be cast almost by rote are level 0. Those rules for spell casting. I'm still looking for where it says that if you cast a spell that doesn't require a spell slot, it's automatically its lowest level of casting, because the Warlock automatically has spell slots that ramp, like at 9th level, they're automatically 5th level spell slots, but you don't cast it with a spell slot, so that infers that it's going to be cast at its base level of ability, but I still do not see those rules in here. Certain spells, ritual, to cast a ritual, special ability, unlimited ways, such as times per day. Spell scrolls, other spells contain spells that can be cast without a spell slot. The description of such them using a higher level spell slot. Effectively, the spell expands to fill the slot if it is put into. Yeah, it's. I still do not see. Every spell entry, each spellcasting class gives its members a limited number of spell slots. For example, level 3 wizard. I do not see where it specifies I guess we asked the Google, huh? 2024 D&D 5e when Warlock casting without spell slot, what level is it? What bullshit is that? Thanks, AI. Spells cast with features. Which level? Hey, cool. New features in the new player's handbook allow you to cast spells without expending a spell slot, but nowhere in the book is it specified which level you should cast these. Thank you. 2 interpretations is the spell is always cast at its base level. The spell can be cast at any level for which you have a spell slot. Which is it? It's pretty clear at base level. Upcasting a spell is a specific rule in the spell slot, and it clearly states that doing that uses the higher level spell slot. This 1 per day free use of the spell via this feature has no spell slots. Usually with spell abilities that don't use spells, that don't use slots, it's at base level unless specified it can be upcast. It's always base level to upcast something you need to spend spell slots. If you are not spending... Okay, great. So let's look at upcasting. Maybe that was the answer and this should have been inferred. Using a higher level spell slot. When a spellcaster casts a spell using a slot that is of a higher level than the spell takes on the higher level effect. Okay, thank you. So that is self-reference. I'm glad we could find that. And it is appreciated. So when you cast... Fiendish Vigor. You can cast False Life on yourself without expending a spell slot. When you cast the spell with this feature, you don't roll the die for the temporary hit points. You automatically get the highest number. You should just say you get fucking... What is it? 5? Wait. False Life. You gain 2D. Yeah, you gain 2d4 plus 4 hit points. It's not a variable. And you automatically gain 12 hit points. It's an instantaneous effect. Temporary hit points last until you finish a long rest unless it specifies otherwise. So this has an instantaneous effect, and it doesn't have a triggering condition that limits its its temporary hit points. So there you go. Fiendish Vigor. Prereq, level 2 plus Warlock. You cast False Life on yourself. Let's double check it to see if there's not caveats, because this doesn't need to be a spell. It doesn't say that you have the spell. The spell's on your list. It just says you can use it. Oh, but you can find a way to... Okay, great. Yeah, because you could find a way to speed up the casting of the spell. So just making it... I was about to go with, like, as a magic action, you can give yourself 12 temporary hit points. Because that's what it does. But it's the False Life spell. You can cast Mage Armor as a cantrip. It's already persistent. It doesn't require a spell slot. You can do it at will. There you go. Fiendish Vigor. You can cast False Life as a cantrip. When you do, instead of rolling, you gain the maximum number of temporary hit points. Instead of rolling to determine how many temporary hit points are gained, you you gain the maximum number. Is that how that works? How do I word it good? You automatically instead of rolling to determine how many temporary hit points are gained, you automatically gain the maximum number, the maximum results. That is better language, I think. So say we all. I like this cantrip stuff. This is fun. Gaze of Two Minds. You can use a bonus action to touch a willing creature and perceive through its senses until the end of your next turn. As long as the creature is on the same plane of existence as you, you can take a bonus action on subsequent turns to maintain this connection, extending the duration until the end of the next turn. The connection ends if you don't maintain it this way. While perceived through the other creature's senses, you benefit from any special senses possessed by that creature, and you can cast spells as if you were in your space or the other creature's space if the two of you are within 60 feet of each other. I love that power. Gaze of Two Minds is fucking awesome, by the way. Gift of the Depth. You can breathe underwater. And you gain a swim speed equal to your speed. You can also cast water breathing once without expending a spell slot. You regain the ability to cast it in this way again when you finish a long rest. So let's look at what water breathing is. Okay, persistent, and we can modify this, and we should. So, Gift of the Depths. What, 5? Capitalized. Thank you. And we're just gonna cut paste. Copy. Cut. Paste. You breathe underwater and you gain swim speed. In addition, moreover, in addition, it's a persistent spell, so it doesn't require mana. Or by expending 3 mana. No action required. Gift of Protector. Permission: a creature can take an action to write its name on that page, which can contain a number of names equal to your charisma modifier. When any creature whose name is on the page is reduced, I think it's important that you be able to cast this, spell against by spending mana to gain access to it again. Because if somebody hits you with a Dispel Magic in an underwater campaign, your character is effectively removed from that adventure until the next day when you get your water breathing back. I like the idea of you being able to cast this spell again by expending mana at no action required. I just think that's better game design. And we have an hour and a half left, so we're doing good. Name of the page is a magic action. You can erase the name. But not killed outright. Okay, we don't need to change that. Investment of the Chainmaster. Let's see what this does. When you cast Find Familiar, you infuse the summon feature, the summon familiar with a measure of your Eldritch power, granting the creature the following benefits: fly or swim speed. Bonus action, you can command the creature to take the attack action, necrotic or radiant damage. You can infuse the summoner with a measure of your Eldritch power, granting the creature the following benefits: your save DC, resistance. Cool. Lessons of the first ones. You'll receive knowledge of the Eldritch entity of the multiverse, allowing you to gain one origin feat of your choice. That's awesome. Life Drinker. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with your packed weapon, you can deal an extra D6 Life Drinker. You can deal an extra D6 necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage, your choice, to the creature. And you can expend once per turn when you hit a creature with your packed weapon. You can deal an extra D6 damage to the creature, and you can expend one of your hit point dice to roll it and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll of your Constitution modifier, minimum of 1 hit point. Okay, so let's do it. One of your hit point dice, any number of hit points, equal to... Okay, let's do it like this. Level 9 plus Warlock. And it actually heal? Yeah, it actually heals. When you hit with your packed weapon, you can deal an additional 1d6 necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage for each per mana expended this way, up to your max common magic level. When you do, you can expend up a number of, resting hit point die? Is that what it's called now? And you can spend one of your hit point dice, and you can spend a number of hit point dice equal to the amount of mana expended to roll them. And regain a number of hit points equal to the roll equal to a number equal to the results plus your Constitution modifier, minimum 1. And what kind of hit dice do we roll? Is it a D8? D6s. Nope. D8s. Because at 9th level, a martial character is going to be rolling D8s anyway. This leans into that idea of the Eldritch Smite. It's level 5. Normally, a martial character would only have a D6, and it would only be 1d6 per mana spent. This is a D8 mana expended up to your max common magic level. You get the extra D8 as a kicker effect, kind of like you get to spend your resting, hit point dice as a kicker effect here. So I'm okay with this. This feels consistent and good. Oof, itchy back. Level 5. At level 5, we could be doing 1, 2 free dice of damage, 2d6 per turn, infinitely. No, you have to spend at least... No, yeah, because you can. So you get an extra 2d6 plus kicker effects infinitely as a martial character. Life trigger is D8. I'm going to drop... Yeah, I was just going to leave it alone. Let's just let it sit. I'm okay with just letting it sit. We're going to update all this stuff anyway. Life drinker. Pacts Blade Invocation. Mask of Many Faces. You can cast Disguise Self without expanding a spell slot. That is a persistent spell because it doesn't require concentration. So... Mask of Many Faces. Preco 2. You can cast Disguise Self. Cantrip, period. Master of Myriad Forms. Prereq, level 5 plus Warlock. You can cast Alter Self as a cantrip. Mini Visions. Without expand. Fine. Whatever. Mini Visions. Prereq. Was it level 5? Level 2. Level 2 plus Warlock. You can cast Image as a cantrip. Target self. Well, it says self in the name, so you'd think it's target self only, but you gotta check on these things. Many Visions. Master Myriad Form. It's Misty Visions. Sorry. One with the shadow. When your area of dim or darkness, you can cast invisibility on yourself without expending a spell slot. Level 9? Level 5 plus. Because it's the second level spell. Right. Warlock. While you're in dim light or darkness, you can cast invisibility as a cantrip. Is it cast on yourself? On yourself. You can cast invisibility on yourself. I love that. It doesn't say you actually have the spell on your list. It just says you can cast it as a cantrip on yourself. All these things are that way. What about levitate? Ascendant step. Did that say specifically yourself and I missed it? So we'll check. On yourself. Ascendant step. Yep, that's actually really important. Levitate on yourself as a cantrip. You can't otherwise cast it, so you just get the ability to levitate. I love that. That's so fucking perfect. Pact of the Blade. As a bonus action, Otherworldly Leap. Form of Shadows, Otherworldly Leap on yourself. Level 2 plus Warlock. I think Jump is a first level spell, yeah? Yeah. You can cast Jump on yourself as a cantrip. Cantrip. Back to the blade. You can conjure a packed weapon in your hand, a simple or martial weapon. It's a choice. It says you create a bond with a magic weapon. Until the bond ends, you have the proficiency with the weapon, and you can use it as a spellcasting focus. So whenever you attack with the bonded weapon, you can use your charisma modifier for the attack and damage rolls instead of using strength or dexterity. And you can cause the weapon to deal necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage, or its normal damage type. Your bond with your weapon ends if you use this feature's bonus action again, if the weapon is more than 5 feet away from you for 1 minute or more, or if you die. A conjured weapon disappears when the bond ends. Pack of the Chain. When you cast, you learn the Find Familiar spell and can cast it as a magic action. Cool. Chain. No prex. When you learn the Find Familiar spell and can... You learn the Find Familiar spell and can cast it as a magic action without expending a spell slot. Of course you would cast it as a... Why do you need to do that? You always cast it as a magic action. I guess to distinguish that it's not a ritual. Without expanding the spell slot. Can't you do that anyway? Oh, casting time is 1 hour normally. And it's not a ritual. Interesting. Instantaneous, so it has no persistence. You just create the thing. Okay, back to the chain. Familar. Using a magic action. Otherwise, the spell remains as listed in the player's handbook. That's how I think I'm supposed to write it. Let me go find it. Otherwise, this feature, this feature remains unchanged as detailed in the player's handbook. Back to the tome. Pack the blade's fine. Back to the tome. Stitching together strands of shadow. You make your book. The book disappears if you conjure another book with this feature if you die. Cantrips and rituals. This might be relevant to how we've been coding things as cantrips, so hold on tight. When the book appears, choose 3 cantrips and choose 2 level 1 spells that have the ritual tag. These spells can be from any class, and they must be spells you don't already have prepared. While the book is on your person, you have the chosen spells prepared, and they function as Warlock spells for you. You can use this book as a spellcasting focus. Okay, cool. We don't need to change that. Repelling Blast. Choose one of the known cantrips. When you hit a large or smaller target with that cantrip, you can push the creature up to 10 feet straight away from you. Repeatable, you can learn on multiple cantrips that deal damage. Thirsting Blade. You gain the extra attack feature for your packed weapon only. With that feature, you can attack twice with the weapon instead of once when you take the attack action on your turn. I'm fine with that. Visions of the Distant Realms. Prec 9. Arcane Eye without expanding. Jesus, Arcane Eye without expanding the spell slot. I love it. Concentration, huh? That's fine. So cool. Of the Distant Realms. Prereq, level 9 plus Warlock. Let's see how it works to make sure I'm not having some sort of a clash. A vulnerable eye within range that hovers for the duration. You mentally receive visual information from the eye, which can see in every direction. It also has the dark vision. It also has dark vision with a range of 30 feet. As a bonus action, you can move the eye up to 30 feet in any direction. A solid barrier blocks the eye's movement, but the eye can pass through an opening as small as 1 inch in diameter. Yeah, I'm fine with that being a cantrip. Yeah, go ahead and throw up 10 of them if you want. And it's persistent. which can see in every direction. It also has the dark vision with range 30 feet. As a bonus action, you can move the eye up to 30 feet in any direction. A solid barrier blocks the eye's movement. What is its VSM, I wonder? A bit of fur. I now feel like we need to go through all of the previous spells. Reopen. Water breathing. VSM. A short read. Cantrip without material components. Let's go back up the line. Back to their chain. The material components, otherworldly leap. Got material components. One's own shadow. Material components, Misty Vision, Silent Image, as a cantrip without material components, also south, this side south, feet. Gift of the Protectors, water breathing without material components, Gift of the Depths, Gaze of Two Minds, doesn't have. Fiendish Presence, False Life. As a cantrip, without material components. Eldritch Smite. Eldritch Spear. Eldritch Mind. Devouring Blade. Devil's Sight. Abundant Step. Levitate. Yourself as a cantrip without material components. Mage Armor. You can cast Mage Armor as a cantrip without material components. That without material components is actually important. There's another Distant Realm. What else you got? Whispers of the Grave. Burning Incense. VSM. Don't need it. Grave. prereq, level 9 plus. Is that right? Oh, level 7 plus. Neat. Okay. Warlock. Cantrip without material components. Which side? You have true side. Okay, don't need to modify that. Hey, we did it. All right, cool. So we got through all of those. I'm still choking just a bit on. I am perfectly happy with Life Drinker as it sits. Invocation. D8 for D8, that's fine. The Eldritch Smite, oh, it's level 5. It's not outrageous. When you hit with your packed weapon, you can deal when you hit with your packed weapon, yeah. Immediately after you hit with your packed weapon, you can use a bonus action to deal an extra D8 plus D8 force damage per mana expended up to your max common magic level. I like that. I am good with that. That puts us back on balance with what a paladin is supposed to be. Life Drinker. Immediately after you hit with a packed weapon, you can use a bonus action to deal an additional D8 necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage per mana expended this way up to your max common magic level. When you do, you can expend a number of hit point dice equal to the amount of mana expended to roll them, and regain a number of hit points equal to the result plus your Constitution modifier. There, I'm content with that. That curves with how the Paladin is listed, so that the Warlock isn't just better than the Paladin. This makes them equal to the Paladin, as listed in the Player's Handbook. I think that was it was short-sighted not to do that. So, there. And then if you're using the martial power system, you can completely swap out all that stuff for the invocation system. Eldritch Strike. You learn 1 strike power up to the max rank of power you gain as a warlock. You can take this invocation more than once, learning an additional strike with each invocation. Yeah, so you can learn Eldritch Strikes on top of... Well, we have the Eldritch Strike up here, so we're going to have to... That's Eldritch Smite. So, yeah. Okay, cool. I'm happy with that. Okay, great. So that resolves the Warlock. The Warlock is now resolved. We can then now potentially proceed with... I want to reassess Strixhaven, Theros, and Ravnica as backgrounds, which we'll do on another session. Possibly Monday night we'll do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's explore the backgrounds of Ravnica, Theros, and Strixhaven on Monday night. For now, we now have what? We have an hour? Okay. Drop this off my pipe. Give me a second here. I need to AFK for a hot second. AFK, BRB. Give me a hot second. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Oops. BRB. All right. Got some fresh coffee. All right, so let's start working on Beck Me XP. We're going to go down to the bottom of the document. Burp. All right. EX style of converting GP to XP for 5e 2024. Premise. The only return to the basic expert D&D box set from 1970s plus, only rewarding XP for treasure sacrificed. Character gains no XP for overcoming challenges. A character must return to a community, must visit a community large enough to absorb the gold expended as detailed below. Character level, community, size, 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 13, 14, 15, 16, 9, 10, 11, 12, cool. 17 to 20. Metropolis. City. Town. Village. Settlement. So the idea here is that as we scale up in levels, we require larger and larger gold amounts to convert into experience points for us to gain levels. If you try to take a 17th level character that has 30,000 gold pieces worth of treasure to exchange for experience points, a settlement with like 15 people in it simply cannot absorb and use that amount of gold in that community. The experience points has to be of a gold amount. It has to be in a community that is large enough to use the amount of gold that you expend. So that means that you have to find a larger and larger community as you go. Sorry, I'm messing around with my heater. You have to go to you have to be at a larger and larger community to be able to expend that gold, to be able to relax, to then be able to gain levels. So. Alternatively, we can just put a cap. Say 100 golds, 1,000 gold. Maybe a settlement. We just do a cap of 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So if you have like absorb per season. Or absorb per week. 10 days. Wealth absorbed. So a 17th level character with 20,000 gold can gain a level downtime in a settlement, but only in 10 experience point increments. Is that appropriate? Let's go look at our tables. That might not be a good number. Let's go look at our XP tables. Start with 0. Party's level. Was it starting at higher levels, gaining levels? Level advancement. 300 gold. So a party of 4 advancing to 2nd level, having to take downtime in a settlement, would have a total of 1,200 gold, which would be 120. That'd be 4 years to spend 1,200 gold. Or you go to a village that would be able to absorb that per 10 days. Be 100 gold per 10 days. 100,000. What's the cost per item? Hold on, where's that at? Magic item value. It's legendary. 200k. So it has to be more than 100,000 because you could drop a legendary magic item into a metropolis. So you got common 2, 3, 4, 5 makes sense. 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 makes sense here to jump over that line, and 1,000,000. Okay, so this should be 1,000,000. Wealth per day for 10 days, 100 per 10 days. So if a party of 1st level characters bumps to 2nd, which is going to be 300 times 4, 1,200. $1,200 divided by 100 is 12 times 10 is 120 days in the settlement, or 1,200 Got to go to a village, or you go to a town, and your character can easily level that 2,500. So if we're looking at a party of 4, 2,500, basically in a 10-day rest. So if you want to have downtime, this would be character level, community size, and if we don't worry about wealth per day, then the settlement can automatically grant you character level status. And then you have to, again, go to larger communities to be able to gain levels. Or if you want to really emphasize the math, then you could do wealth per 10 days. So I feel that's legit. 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people, 1,000,000 people. Excuse me. Let's see. A character must visit a community distributing treasure for XP. A character must visit a community large enough to absorb the gold expended as detailed below. 12 per 10 days determines how long it takes for the gold to be distributed for the treasure. Gold value of the treasure to be distributed in the community before XP is gained. For example, a party of 4 characters that a party of 4 level 3 characters need 1,800 XP each to reach level 4, or a total of 7,200 XP. If the party has 7,200 GP worth of treasure to distribute, the amount of time it takes to do so by size of community is as follows. Settlement. $720 days. Village. Community size. Time to distribute. Settlement, 720 days. Thank you. Village. $80 days. Town. $10 days. City. Metropolis. 10 days. 10 days. There you go. So if you're trying to get from 3rd to 4th level, you should be going to a town, so that you only have to have 10 days downtime for you to be able, and it always takes at least 10 days. And so this builds downtime into your character's development for an extended campaign that also helps integrate the Bastion downtime system into your character's narrative for the campaign. So while you're doing downtime here, waiting for the gold to get absorbed, you are able to process. That's how that works. So let's take this and upgrade this. So that's the underlying distribution system for an extended campaign. So distributing treasure, XP. XP per level. Gold per treasure. Per encounter. I'm just going to go level 10 for now. Level XP 0. It's level 2, it takes 300. XP total. XP gained 0. 300. Let's just go down the line. 900. 2700. 6500. 14,000. 23,000, 34,000, 48,000, 64,000. XP per level per character. $619, that's 1,800. That's 3,800. That's 7,500. That's 9,000. Really? Yeah, that makes sense. 11,000, 14,000, 16. Weird numbers. Up by 3, up by 3, up by 2. Why did that change? 64. That's 14. Am I mathing wrong? 10, 64. $300, 1,800, 3,800, 7,500. It's, I mean, it is ratcheting up, but just not an equal. I would think that it would ratchet up in further and further increments. This is 21. Yeah, this is a 21,000 XP gap. And this is only a 15,000. And that's only a 20,000, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000, 30,000, 40,000, 40,000, 50. Your math is broken, man. Like this middle level stuff, it just doesn't feel like that's right. $21 to 15 to 2020, 2020. Why does that make sense? It makes no fucking sense. God, that pisses me off. I think the math is wrong. I mean, if I'm mathing wrong somehow, somebody let me know. That's so fucking dumb. $195. 16 was $195. And 225. 265. Let's make sure this curves out. That's just wrong. Makes no fucking sense. $300, $600, $18, $38, $75, $9,000, $11,000, $14,000, $16,000, $21,000. What if this was actually... I just think they fucking did their math wrong. I have so little faith in Wizards of the Coast that I don't think they actually did their math correctly. And I've never bothered using this XP system because I've always used milestones or timed. In 3rd edition, I got tired of counting out XP, so I'm really happy to be exploring this stuff, but it makes no fucking sense. 1,500, 2,000, $300 increase, $300 increase. So $1,200 increase, $2,000 increase, 3,300 increase, $1,500 increase, 2,000 increase, 3,000 increase, 2,000 increase, 5,000 increase, negative 6,000, 5,000 increase. You see what I'm saying? 0 increased, 5,000 increased, no increase. This is like, what's the difference? So it's a 300 difference. It's a 300 difference. Plus 1,200. It's plus 2,000. 8. Yeah, 3,700. See how that's ramping differently? Like the difference amount of XP that you need from here to here is a total of 3,700 XP difference. Well, this is a total of only 1,500 difference. And this is 2,000. It's 3,000. This is 2,000 difference. This is 5,000 difference. This is minus 6,000 difference. Zero difference from 2,000 to 2,000. Another 5,000 gain. That's a 5,000 gain. There's no difference here. It's a plus 10,000 gain. A 0 gain here. Plus 10,000 gain here. Why wouldn't you just make it? These numbers are just weird. This is the one that's really just breaking my brain, this 21K here. I just feel like these XP tables are wrong. All right. Well, that is what it is. Well, it is what it is. So, I guess we'll just go ahead and scrub this for now. Just to get rid of them. Just to not overcome. We'll just take it on faith with their XP. Their XP is fucking stupid, but we'll take it on faith for now. God, this makes no sense. This breaks my brain so bad from 11 to 12. It takes less to gain. It takes less effort to gain. It takes more effort to gain 10 to 11th level than it takes to get from 11th to 12th level, or 12th to 13th. Like it doesn't like 10th to 11th level is more difficult to gain. It takes more effort to gain than anything prior to 15th. That just doesn't make it. That just doesn't make any sense. Whatever. I wonder if this XP progression is the same from 3rd edition. 3E D&D XP level per level. Yeah, this was linear. 19th level? See, look how linear this system is. This is such a smooth curve. What about 4E? I mean, I know we go to 30th level and this used the same. See if... Oh. Nope, that's different too. Weird. Huh. Alright, well, whatever. Alright, it is what it is. So, let's see. So... Level 2. Let's see. So let's go to the encounter builder. Party level is 1. XP per character. This is the amount of XP. Multiply the number on the table by the number of characters in the party to get the XP budget. So this is per character. 75, so moderate encounter, 75. For a character to get to level 2, it only takes 300 XP, which means 4 moderate encounters, 3 high encounters, or 6 low encounters. 6, 4, and 3. To get to level 3, it takes 600 XP, which is 6, 4, and 3. And 3. Is that consistent? So what, 100, yeah. 100, 150, 600. It's 3, 4, 6. To get from 600, yeah, you need 1800 there. So if it's going to be 3 of them, if it's going to be 3, then the cap is going to be. Sorry, that was supposed to be 200. So divide by that's 1800 divided by 6. That'd be 300 if I'm right. And if it's 1800 divided by 4, that's 450 if I'm right. And if it's supposed to be 3, if I'm right, it'd be 600. Is that correct? 150. Third level. It's changing. So that's incorrect. 150, which is 10, 12. It's doubled. 225, 400, which is 4.5, 225, 225, 450, 900. Really? All right. Just doing the math here just to make sure I got my head screwed on right. And that should be 12, right? 1800 divided by 12? Okay. Let's just keep going down the line. 250, 500, 600 at 6. God, that's so weird. 750. These breakpoints are just strange. It doesn't curve smoothly, and I don't understand why yet. 1000. I just kind of get an idea that these are feels, like they're not actually mathed out in any way specific. I could be wrong. So the XP, gold for XP as opposed to challenge rating for XP means that we don't actually need to know what this experience value is. We can have fair or unfair battles as we please as we proceed. But having an idea of what the game considers to be fair for us to then test against has high value. 6,400. God, that's weird. And this is just going to be X. There. 225. 375. 750. 1000. 1300. Interesting. The 1300 numbers that are moving here. That's interesting. 1300. 1700. It's different. 2000. Interesting. 2300. I wonder if there's a way to curve this math so it's just more elegant. Hey, Shiner. Gatekeeping. Yeah, it's interesting that the math doesn't work out this way. It's I just feel like we can curve this more smoothly. I love 3rd edition. How is just whatever your current level times 1,000 is how much you need to get to the next level. It's just such a smooth, easy curve. And then shit started getting weird. And how you doing, Shiner? It's good to see you. I'm going to be here for another 15 minutes for today, and then we're going to be out. 13. So we're going to continue this on Monday night, because I'm not going to get done tonight. So we're going to continue from there. 13 is 4,200. But again, we're sussing out what's the combined XP plus gold that characters are expected to have at each level, and that's how we can determine how much treasure we actually need to distribute per character during an adventure to get from level X to X plus 1. And using the Beckney style of gold piece to XP, we then have enough gold and XP that if your characters don't want any material wealth at all, they can ramp much quicker through their levels to gain power. Or if they want to hoard their magic, hoard their treasure to gain resources like Dominion with bastions and stuff like that, or resources through NPC hirelings, ships like Spelljammer or Oversea, or just a bunch of magic items, for instance, or like poisons or crafting stuff. Then we can break that down, and they don't gain levels quickly, but they get just more stuff to give them more resources to fight with. But at some point, you're going to want to have both resources and experience to be able to ramp your character smoothly through an adventure. But in a mega dungeon campaign that goes from, say, level 1 to 10, where you're not having like world bending teleportation stuff like that makes dungeons worthless, around level 10 dungeons stop becoming challenges for characters, because the high magic that characters can cast, that 11 plus, often just circumvents all of the threats that a location-based hazard would present. So generally speaking, if you're doing dungeon crawl stuff, going from level 1 to 10 in 5th edition is pretty good. You can run a 1 to 10 campaign like that and then, be done with it. And you can then have your characters pick up Dominion, retire their characters, and then build new characters and go dungeons, explore someplace else. If you want to run a full 20 level campaign, you're going to have to change the environment where you're running the dungeons and how you approach these things. So I'm building out to 20, but I'm only going to be playtesting the Mega Dungeon XP style with the color mana system from level 1 to 10. That's what we're attempting. Let's look at 16, 6100, 7200, 8700. 700. I know this is all already written here, so I guess I'm kind of being redundant, but 13200. But yeah, we wanted to see how many encounters are needed, and I didn't see that broken down anywhere else, so I think this is valuable. And we could probably get through this. What's up? Yeah, I always thought that it should be an adjunct to leveling to that other stuff like crafting. Yeah. So you have an idea of how much actual wealth belongs in the campaign, and if your characters want to keep all that stuff, basically when you get out of the dungeon, you get to the town, that's when you decide. And again, if you hadn't seen it, we have the distribution treasure by level. This is the size of the settlement and how much wealth it can absorb every 10 days. So if I just clear it out of, like if I'm in the middle of nowhere, like I'm in Chult, like if I'm doing Tomb of Annihilation, for instance, and we're off in Chult, and we want to get out of the dungeon and go take a long rest, we're gonna have to go find a non-hostile community, and out in the jungle like that, we're probably only gonna find a settlement or a village. So if we're now 12th level in the Tomb of Annihilation, and 12th level characters, they have to dump. A 12th level character is going to need 15,000 experience points per character to be able to jump from level 11 to level 12, right? So we start at 12th level, we're trying to get to the 13th level. That's 20k per character. And so if we go to a settlement, like a little village, right? There's only like 100 people in a settlement. There's like 1,000 people. This wealth per day conveniently scales with the number of adults that you can expect to be in a community using the command system that I've been developing over the past years. So when you're looking at this, like if you have a settlement of like a slew of farms, and there's at most like 50 homes, like 50 farms in this community, that community could realistically absorb 100 gold pieces worth of wealth to then trade with and stuff, like to get new grain and new saddles and new iron ingots. But they're not going to be able to take, like if you have a team of 4 characters at 11th level and they're trying to get to 13th level and they pull 80,000 gold out of a dungeon, and then they go to a little farming community in the middle of fucking nowhere. They can't spend 80,000 gold. Like, you can't just say, here, community, have 80,000 gold. They're like, that's awesome. We have no idea what we can actually... We have to go to a bigger community to spend that amount of gold because we don't have the resources to, like... That's, like, way more worth than the entire town. Like, you could buy our town. We'll sell it to you for, like, 3,000 gold. And then we'll go back to the city and make it rich and like retire or whatever. But like we can't take 80,000 gold. If you want to throw 80,000 gold into a community, like you can go to a town and it'll take you 80 days for that community to eat all of that 80,000 gold that you're just dumping into the system so you gain XP. If you go to a city Yeah, 80,000 to get from level 12 to 13. They can do that in 10 days. So now you start pacing your campaign in 10-day blocks. If you've checked my previous design streams about the Eberron Spelljammer Asteroid campaign that I've been running, the team runs a mining operation. And that mining operation gains resources and updates world events every 10 days. So I generally find, and the Bastion system that they have in the DMG, it's garbage, but they generally pace it around a week at a time as well. So if you parse it out to 10 days, one season, which is roughly 10 days, and then you have a year, which is 40 10 days, right? And then you can continue to expand from there. You get a sense of scale of how long does it take for my characters to gain levels in a campaign. Well, basically it's wherever they're at, that's how long it takes for your wealth to be distributed. That's how quickly your character can gain levels while they're having downtime. While they take that downtime to gain their levels, the whole world has a chance to evolve new threats, come up with new plots that require your character's attention at the level that you're at, and you're performing downtime activities and utilizing your dominion with your bastion or whatever, or my guilds and kingdom system if you want to use it instead, or like Adam Hancock's Balduran's Guide to Kingdom Building. There's a number of options out there. If you really want to be dumb, you could use MCDM's piece of garbage. But whatever method that you like, if you pace it at 10-day blocks is your dominion turn, then that synchronizes with how your character absorbs or is able to distribute wealth to gain levels. So this curves that all back into the same resource, XP, downtime, and Bastion system. It all now curves together on that 10-day block. And I've been running our Eberron campaign and Spelljammer this way since February. So like 8 months now we've been running it, and it's working really well. Each adventure generally is set in 10 days blocks. Generally, if they're doing a dungeon delve, they can get through a delve and have days to spare in each 10-day block, so they can go on an adventure and get back home within that 10-day period of time. And then the world updates, and they have new threats and stuff that they have to deal with as an organization with their mining operation. Adding this into it when they're extracting that wealth from these dungeons and take it back to their mining operation, this coincides with the ore that they're extracting as wealth from the rocks as well for their guild to advance in levels as well. So it's working out really well in my homebrew campaign, and that's why I wanted to extend it out here to actually break it down for people to playtest larger, because this is a really good sort of idea that if we can see that this jives well, we can smooth out this XP curve and then build this Beckney system for 5e20 into like a DTRPG project. So, and I can like do a small $500 Kickstarter or something, and then drop this on people's laps. So that's the idea. That's the dreams that I'm attempting to achieve. But now I've been rambling and I've lost time. So let's go to our high level encounters, and 400, 500. 1100. I do get on a tear, don't I? 1400. But this stuff fascinates me, and I love the game design of it. D&D has been my role-playing game of choice since 1987, and I just don't have. I just want to. I love the D20 mechanic since it came out in 2000 under Wizards. I really think that was a great advancement in the hobby. And for the community, and just role-playing games in general, I think it was a great addition. And I just want to keep building out tools that makes it just a better and better experience. Like, people are like, why would you play D&D? You could play Blades in the Dark or whatever instead. It's like, yeah, but if you can find a fun way to make 5e work, like with heists and stuff like that, why wouldn't you? Like, why would you want to stop playing your Planescape D&D campaign so that you can run Blades of the Dark as a heist? You know, it's like, why don't you just have good heist mechanics for 5e? Just fucking figure it out. I must have missed something, because I'm at 2200 now. $17,200, $14,200. Yeah, I botched something along the way. 11,700, 9,800. Thank you. What is this going to be like? 75? 7,800. Okay, cool. So let's break down our math real quick. 3,800 divided by 250. No, as a multiplier. 3,800 divided by 250 is fucking A. 15 point. So it's 15. 16. You have to round up. Uh, 3,800 divided by 37.5. That's going to be 11, right? 11. And 38 rounds up to 4,000. 4,000, that's going to be 8. This is how it's ramping. Level 1 to 3, you're only having a couple encounters per day. Like, you can get, like, if you're going to go, if D&D, it looks like, from everything we're seeing, that D&D paces at 4 adventures per day. What's up? I appreciate your position. Yeah, right on. Makes it easier to figure out why the numbers are crunching. Thank you. Hey, you know what? That's what we're here for, right? 7,500, 77. So this is 7 heavy encounters. See, to get from level 5 to 6, it takes 7,500 experience points, and it's 1,400 experience points per character for a high risk encounter. It goes from 3, 4.5 to 8 to 7. It's just their math is wonky. And I personally think that this should all be a smooth gradient from level 1 to 20. It should have a logical, intuitive progression so that you can just look at it, and if you know what your conversion ratio is, it's just automatically grok what you need. And if we're going to tie, I bet gold is going to be equally wonky when we get to it. So we got to get through this first to see our pacing, because this is going to break down how much treasure do they expect you to have per CR or per encounter. So we're going to have to break down the CR math of that to see how much treasure you should get at each level at different levels of difficulty to see if the gold that you get is going to parse out with the amount of treasure that we're supposed to get. Like, here's our magic items, that the number of magic items we're supposed to get per level in a tier, right? So at 20th level, you're supposed to have 25 magic items per character. So this is just breaking down in a group of 4. They didn't break it down per individual, because at level 1, you're only supposed to have 1 rare magic item per 4 characters from level 1 to 4. So by 4th level, each character is going to have a rare magic item. When they get to 5th level, so it's not being distributed equally. So that's something that we're also going to have to analyze. And so we'll continue this on Monday night when we come back. 7,500, that is 515. Am I right? 7,500? So I'm just going to use 7,500 divided by 500. Yeah, see, it's less math to get from level 4 to 5 than it took to get from level 3 to 4. And 7,500, that's easy enough. That's 10. That's 15 as well. 9 here. 9,000. 9,000 divided by 1,400 is 7. 6.5, but we round up 7. So let's just round up. Let's just keep the numbers round. 5. Divided by 750 is 15. See, this 15 pacing is going pretty well. I'm cool with that. This will be, what, 8? 11,000 divided by 1,300. 9. Okay, so far so good. Also 7. Seeing a mild pattern here. I suspect this should be 5, not 8. God, that's so wonky. I honestly, I think their math is wrong, and no one's ever questioned it. I think it's wrong. Oh, wait. It's, sorry, wrong math. 1,400. $14,000. Yeah, 14,000 divided by 1,700 is is 9 again. 14,000 divided by 2,100 is 7 again. That's this second tier is kind of working out. 16,000 divided by 1,300 is 13. So now it's less per day to gain a level than it was before. Should it be smooth? Should it be the same pacing? Is the amount of encounters that you're dealing with not pacing the same with the amount of resources that you get? Here's 8. 16,000 divided by 2,600 is still 7. 21,000 divided by 1,600 is 14. It's barely over 1,300. Barely over 13, but we're rounding up no matter what. 21,000 divided by 2,300. It's 10. And that's my timer. Let me. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this real quick. 21,000 divided by 3,100, just to give us a base point to start with. I'll just go down the line. It'll be a little bit faster. 15,000 divided by 1,900. That's 8. What? 15,000. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, that's so fucked up. It goes from 64,000 to 85,000, and then from 85,000 to 100,000. That is legit how it scales. See? 64, 85, 100. So there's a 21,000 jump from level 10 to 11, and then from level 11 to 12 is only 15,000. So it's actually significantly stepping down. Does that downshift in scale remain consistent? 15,000. Yeah, divided by 1,900. 15,000. It's 20,000 divided by 2,200 is 9. 20,000 divided by 2,600 is 8. 25,000 divided by 2,900 is 9. 25,000 divided by 2,900 is 9. Oh, sorry, it's 30,000. It's 30,000 divided by 3,300. It's single digit. It's 0.0. So we'll call it 9. That's breaking the rule. We'll go to 10 because it rounds up to 9.09. Rounds up to 9.1, which rounds up to 10. So we'll stick. So, yeah, my man. I'll be out of here in just a few moments. But, yeah, thanks a lot. 30,000 divided by 3,800 is 8. 40,000 divided by 4,500 is 9. 40,000, well, that's the same. 50, 1, 2, 3 divided by 5,500 is 9. No, it's 10. We did this before. It's 10. Almost done, and then I'm going to kick. 15,000 divided by 2,900 is 6. 20,000 divided by 3,700 is 6. 20,000 divided by 4,200 is 5. You have more resources, but less encounters per day. 25,000 divided by 4,900 is 6. 30,000 divided by 5,400 is 6. 30,000 divided by 6,100 is 5. 40,000 divided by 7,200 is 6. 40,000 divided by 8,700 is 5. 50,000 divided by 5. And then we'll just cap it off. Once you reach 20th level, it's just whatever. Just to finish it off, 20,000 divided by 4,100 is 5. 20,000 divided by 4,700 is also 5. I'm sorry, 15,000 divided by 4,100 is 4. This is what it actually is here. 15,000 divided by 4,100. Cool. And then 20,000 divided by 4,700 is, right, 5. 20,000 divided by 5,400 is back down to 4. 25, 123 divided by 6,200 equals, that rounds, that 3 rounds down to 0, so we're actually going to call that 4. 30,000 divided by 7,800 is 4. 30,000 divided by 9,800 is, rounds up. 3.06 rounds up to 3.1, which rounds up to 4. That sticks. 40,000 divided by 11,700 is round up to 4. 40,000 divided by 14,200 is only 3 per day. 50,000 divided by 17,200 is 3. Okay, that's our scale. So in the end, we scaled pretty much the same as we did in the beginning, but with vastly more resources. All right, that's it for today, guys. I'm going to be back on Monday. Now that we have the rough number of encounters broken down at different tiers of difficulty, we'll be able to see what the CRs break down with each of these, and then we'll be able to see what the treasure troves per CR is, so we can get a pacing for how much gold they expect us to get. We can then compare that against the wealth tables that we have for character levels, and then we'll be able to start populating dungeons with the amount of treasure divorced from the challenge rating of the monsters that provide it. So that's the project. We'll continue this on Monday night for a couple hours. I will see everybody then. Thanks a lot.